Welcome to the Orderica JMS training videos. In this video, we're going to discuss preferences. To start, click on the Preferences menu in the bottom left. Here you'll be able to adjust many different types of preferences and settings for this JMS application. Let's get started by looking at the inventory settings. Here we will see three subsections corresponding to the three sections of the inventory. Let's start with finished products. When entering information for a finished product, some of the fields will have a drop-down menu where you select an option that is listed. This is where you can configure that list of options. For example, if your store is separated into different departments, you can enter in the name of each of those departments here, so that when you create a new finished product, you can select the department for that product and stay well organized. To add a new value to this setting, just click the green Add button in the top left and then enter in the value that you would like. You can also select the value that is already listed and click the yellow Edit button to edit it or the red Delete button to remove it. Let's quickly take a look at the Add Finished Products window to fully understand how this works. So here we have the window that is presented to you when you want to add a new finished product to your inventory. If you're unfamiliar with this window, be sure to watch the video on finished products. So here we see some of the information we need to fill out to create a new finished product in our inventory. If you look under the Inventory Products section on this page, you'll notice a field called Department. If we click on that drop-down menu, we will notice the same options that we had in the corresponding Department section of the Preferences. So when you add new values to the department list under Preferences, this is where they are applied. Other fields can be edited similarly. Now heading back to the Preference section, we see that these other sections can be edited in the same way. Go through each individual section and make sure it has all the values that you will need. One thing to note is that occasionally you'll come across pre-made values that have a picture of a yellow lock located on the right end. Note that these values are permanent and can't be removed or edited. Click on one and you'll notice that the Edit and Remove buttons are grayed out. After the finished products section is the loose inventory section. Here we have more of the same, except now instead of being fields for finished products, we have fields for loose inventory, such as QLIT, cut, and clarity. These sections have a lot of permanent values already entered in, but feel free to add more to these lists if you'd like. Most of these fields just have a single value that you have to enter in, except for gemstone type, where you add a value, and then you can also add colors for that value. Next, we have the preferences for categories. Sections like list type and material can be edited just as before, but product type is a bit different. Now instead of just adding new values, we can also add other properties to any of the product types. For instance, if we click Edit on the band product type, we can add a size property and set number as its type. In the tag template section, we can create and edit tag templates that can be used for inventory items. To learn how to use the tag editor, be sure to watch the video on finished products. Moving on to the preferences for the customers section, we have more of the same. Under address type, we can edit the options for address types that are presented to us when creating a new customer. In categories, we can edit the list of options for a customer category, such as private or retail. Under customer sources, we have the sources for how your customers became familiar with your business. Here you can add in the name of different jewelry shows you attended, for instance. And ratings is where you can change the rating options for your customers as well. Next, we have the manufacturing section, where we will start with activities. Here we can create and name new activities that can be set when creating a new service item. Just as before, we press the green Add button to create a new activity and enter in the name of the activity. Edit your list of activities however you want using the Add, Edit, and Delete buttons. The next few sections are formatted a little differently. For custom order tasks template, for instance, you can create and delete new task types using the blue Add and Remove buttons just above the list. And you can also move tasks up and down the list to order the template. The repair task template and in-house order task template can be edited in the exact same way. In the material section, we can add values of materials, and we can also add optional group names as an extra way to organize. And in the tag section, we can add tag values for manufactured items such as rushed or handmade. Now let's move on to the users and roles section of the preferences. Under users, if you have administrative privileges, you can edit the information and privileges of each other user and employee. And you can also create new employee accounts as well. Click on the Add button and let's look at how we can create a new user. Start by entering in an email. After you've done that, a pop-up will appear where you can enter in the first and last name of this user. Then enter in a password. This is the password that this user will use to log into the Orderica application. Next, we have the roles and privileges section. Select the drop-down menu and select one of the roles to be applied to this user. Immediately, you will be presented with a list of what the user can view, add, modify, delete, or execute. For instance, a salesperson, as shown here, can view invoices, but cannot view anything else. They have permission to add information for several different sections. They can only modify and delete customers, and they cannot execute anything. By selecting the appropriate role for a user, you are limiting their access to what they can and cannot do on Orderica. You can also slightly modify the role in this section if you'd like. For example, if you want this person to have the general salesperson role, just without the viewing option for invoices, you can deselect that box. When you're all done, press Save to complete the user creation. You'll have the whole list of users here on this page, and you can easily view their information or edit and delete them using the buttons in the top left. Now let's take a look at the roles section. So when we were creating our new user, we had to select a role for them. And depending on that role, they were given access to different functionality and features of Orderica. This is where we can configure those roles and create new ones if we'd like. To create a new role, press the green Add button in the top left. Start by adding a unique name for the role, as well as a description of the role if you'd like. After that, you'll see the list of all the different types of privileges that can be selected. Go through each privilege and select the View, Add, Modify, Delete, and Execute fields when they apply. If a box is grayed out, that simply means that the privilege doesn't exist. For example, there's no such thing as executing a finished product or gemstone, so those two boxes are grayed out. Also, you can select entire sections by using the boxes that are listed on the outsides of the list to help speed up the process. When you're finished entering in all the privileges, press the OK button to complete the new role. After you've done that, your new role can now be selected in the Users section. So now we move on to the System Settings section. We start with credit card types. This list contains the type of credit cards that you'll be accepting for your transaction. Use the Add, Edit, and Delete buttons like always to configure this list to your liking. The states and countries list will apply to the shipping options that you have when completing an order, so edit these lists to include all states and countries you do business with. The next section is stores, and here we can edit our list of different store locations. If you have multiple stores, this will allow you to stay organized as to which store you are using when you add a product, create a new service, create new users, and much more. To create a new store, just press the green Add button, as always, and enter in the name of the store. You also have the option to enter in a tax percentage if you'd like, to keep track of differing tax rates across your stores. When creating new finished products or loose inventory, you're given the option to choose which store the item is located, and even the location within the store as well to stay organized. And it's in this section where you can edit the options you have for those two fields. The Ship By section has the different companies that you use when completing a shipment, so add or edit any shipping options as you see fit. Then the MISC charge type allows you to edit your list of miscellaneous charging types for invoices and sales. The hardware settings is where we can configure the different types of hardware you might use with this application. Each section has all the information you need to set up each respective device, as well as ways for you to test each device to make sure they are working properly. Be sure to go through each section to configure and test the devices you want to use, and press the Save button when you're all done. You also have the Reset button in the bottom left to reset everything to the default settings if you'd like. Next, we have the Mail Send configuration. Here you can set up any email servers that you may have to use with the email functionalities of the application. Click on the green Add button to add a new configuration. Start by entering in a unique name for the configuration, then enter in the email and name of the from address, followed by the SMTP server ID. Then there's some additional information you can specify, such as port number if you'd like. When you're done entering in the information, you can press the Send Test Message button in the bottom left to test out the configuration before saving it. Next, we have the System Settings section where you can configure some information about your company. You can edit your company name and address in the Company Information section. Below that, we have the Percentages section where you can enter in what percentages you want to charge for certain actions, such as canceling a service, as well as the default tax percentage. And Orderica Web is where you can configure the JMS to connect directly to your Orderica web store. Just enter in the store address as well as your username and password. If you don't have an Orderica web store, be sure to check out Orderica.com to learn more about them and how to sign up. Click Save at the bottom when you're done to add your changes for this page. Lastly, we have the Miscellaneous Application settings. Here we can adjust things like which store we are currently in, the number of items that get displayed for all the different sections in the application, as well as some different viewing options for the line items and accordion states. Make any changes as you see fit, and then press the Save button at the bottom. You can also come back at any time and press the Reset button here to go back to the default settings for this page. Well, that concludes our video for preferences. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@orderica.com. Thanks for watching.